joint military drills between China and Russia. It's the first of its kind since Moscow invaded Ukraine, and other nations are joining in. China pushes back on praise. That's from Russia, complimenting Chinese drones on their supposed military prowess. Taiwan vows to defend itself 24/7. The island's president thanks troops for their service amid indescribable pressure from Beijing. Trade talks are coming this fall. Washington and Taipei working out a new agreement, a move that could reduce Taiwan's economic dependence on China. And the British Parliament gets a new TikTok account. Lawmakers are pushing back. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. China will take part in joint military exercises led by Russia. The Vostok exercises start at the end of this month and will span 1 week. India, Belarus, Mongolia, Tajikistan, and other countries will also join in. Last year, Russia and China held at least 2 joint military exercises. One of them was held in north-central China and involved more than 10,000 troops. The other one was the first drill of its kind in the Sea of Japan. South Korea complained that Chinese and Russian warplanes intruded into South Korea's air defense identification zone at the time. The next month, South Korea's military said it had scrambled fighter jets after 2 Chinese and 7 Russian warplanes intruded into its air defense identification zone. That was during what Beijing called regular training. The world's largest consumer drone maker is pushing back on praise from Russia. Let's take a look at why the Chinese company is refusing the compliment.
The Chinese drone maker recently made a fuss over some compliments it received. DJI Technology Company is the world's largest maker of consumer drones. Last week, the Russian embassy in China praised the company on Chinese social media platform Weibo, calling the Chinese drones a true symbol of modern warfare, saying that they completely solved the old issues of artillery reconnaissance, target correction, and fire adjustment. The comment could indirectly imply that the Chinese company was involved in the Russian conflict. DJI jumped to respond the next day, emphasizing that all DJI products are designed for civilian purposes and cannot meet the requirements of military specifications, and that the company does not support applications for military purposes. The Russian embassy deleted its post, but it was actually citing a report from state media about a new book by Army General Yuri Boyevsky, the former chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. In the book, the general said that the Chinese commercial drones have brought a real revolution to traditional artillery weapons. DJI is already on the U.S. trade blacklist. It was added last December for allegedly helping survey Muslim minorities in Xinjiang.
Fishermen from southern China are rejoicing. Authorities there tried to extend a yearly fishing ban because of health concerns. But locals, desperate to feed their families, took to the streets to protest. Here's more on what happened.
Fishing season kicked off in the South China Sea on Tuesday, and hundreds of fishing vessels from China's southern Beihai city set sail. But getting the green light to start casting was met with resistance. A fishing ban normally stays in place outside of the fishing season and gets lifted at the start of fishing season. But before the start of this year's season, the city had been under lockdown for over a month. During a Monday press conference, authorities there said the pandemic situation was still a cause for concern, and because of it, they announced the decision to lift the fishing ban a month later than normal. But that order didn't hold up. Just 2 days after the press conference, local authorities declared the removal of COVID-19-driven lockdowns. Local residents attributed the positive change to a large-scale protest held just a day before. Videos circulating online show that residents broke through barriers encircling the lockdown zone and gathered in the streets to protest. NTD interviewed some eyewitnesses to get their take. To protect their identities, we distorted their voices.
Around 200 to 300 people here rely on fishing to feed their families. They ordered us to postpone fishing for a month, and everyone fought against it. The authorities could do nothing but reopen the city at midnight. I heard from a group chat that the district officials had an emergency meeting and then sent people to dismantle all lockdown facilities. Now it's all open. There was nothing the authorities could do but to reopen. Now people can go back to work.
Many locals say they were encouraged by the outcome.
Next, a look at some unusual weather patterns happening in China. At least 17 people killed and 17 others missing after a flood in the country's west. That's according to Chinese state media. A sudden rainstorm triggered a landslide, which diverted a river and caused flash flooding in populated areas. The official number of casualties may not reflect the real total, given that the Chinese regime has a record of downplaying and underreporting disaster events. The state broadcaster said the incident affected more than 6,000 people in 6 villages in Qinghai province. Emergency authorities described the flash flooding as a mountain torrent. China is facing heavy rains and flooding in some parts of the country this summer, and intense heat and drought in other regions. State media have described the prolonged heat and drought as the worst since record-keeping started 60 years ago. Taiwan's Air Force put on a military display Thursday, showcasing its anti-aircraft capabilities. Officials say they are ready for action 24/7 and will protect the democratically governed island. The event comes amid sustained pressure from Chinese military drills in the ocean surrounding Taiwan. Here's more.
Taiwan's Air Force displayed its anti-aircraft capabilities on Thursday, saying they were ready for action 24 hours a day. The democratically governed island is facing growing pressure from Chinese military drills. China, which claims Taiwan as its territory, has carried out military exercises around the island this month, after a visit by U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi and 5 U.S. lawmakers led by Senator Ed Markey on Sunday and Monday. Pelosi's visit infuriated China, which responded with test launches of ballistic missiles over Taipei for the first time and sent warships and fighter jets close to the island. On a government-organised media trip to Taiwan's crucial airbase in Hualien, the Air Force showed off its anti-aircraft systems. Taiwanese Air Defense Officer Chen Te-huan said the increased tensions did not faze them.
We were not nervous at all at that time, as our regular training is prepared for all-day, 24-hour missile operations. When the Chinese military acted, we were already well prepared. Our soldiers followed the SOP, which is our troop training program, as per normal. So actually, we were not nervous at all. We were just excited to finish our mission.
There have been no clashes between Taiwan's Air Force and Chinese fighters. China has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control. Taiwan's government says that because the People's Republic of China has never ruled the island, it has no right to claim it or decide its future, which can only be set by Taiwan's people.
Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen addressed hundreds of the island's Navy service members this week, thanking them for their service, despite what she called indescribable pressure from the communist regime, and acknowledging that fulfilling their mission in the tight confines of a ship must have been difficult. She spoke during a visit to the Suao Naval Base on the island's northeastern coast. Here's more on what she had to say.
In the face of China's harassment and provocation outside Taiwan's territorial waters, it is even more necessary to keep an eye on the dynamics of enemy ships all the time. In this period, everyone has shown firm and unwavering courage, responded calmly, and showed solid and long-lasting results in the face of real threats, not only guarding maritime security, but also maintaining regional peace and prosperity. For such a performance, I must give the highest affirmation and respect.
Tsai has repeatedly emphasized that Taiwan will neither provoke nor escalate conflict during the crisis, and the island's defense ministry has stressed its calm response to Chinese military activity. Although the scale of China's military drills has dropped off significantly from earlier in the month, Taiwan continues to report Chinese fighters and warships operating around the island.
The U.S. says it will begin trade talks with Taiwan in the fall. The plan is to strengthen economic ties between them as China gets more aggressive toward the island. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has the details.
America says that it'll start negotiating with Taiwan on a trade initiative this fall. It'll touch on things like agriculture, technology, and the significant distortions that can occur from the non-market practices of state-owned and state-controlled enterprises.
It could be a response to the Pelosi visit and the overreaction of Beijing. in terms of the almost total blockade of the country, Taiwan, with the Navy ships. I mean, really, it's the PLA Navy did what looked like a dress rehearsal of a naval blockade.
Anders Kaur is the publisher of the Journal of Political Risk and author of The Concentration of Power. Kaur hopes these talks aren't only symbolic, but that they'll also move the United States and Taiwan closer together.
It is very symbolic.
Riley Walters is a deputy director at the Hudson Institute. Walters says the trade investment framework negotiations with Taiwan already cover most of the recently announced topics.
A lot of the stuff, I think, announced within this trade negotiations is stuff we're already doing, really, with Taiwan. Again, U.S. and Taiwan have been talking about trade for over 30 years now.
He thinks offsetting the impact from state-owned enterprises, such as those from China, is something new they added.
Even if it were just symbolic, it's important, because Beijing needs to see that the United States stands with Taiwan.
Gordon Chang is the author of The Coming Collapse of China. Chang says Washington perceives Taiwan as being endangered.
Since the 1800s, we Americans have drawn our Western defense perimeter, not off the coast of Hawaii, not off the coast of Guam, but off the coast of East Asia. And Taiwan sits in the middle of that critical perimeter.
China is against the U.S. and Taiwan strengthening their ties. It urges the U.S. to immediately stop any form of official interaction and contact with the island. Alan Fredrickson, NTD News.
Taiwan's trade reliance on China has become a concern around the world. Last year, nearly half of Taiwan's total exports went to China, including Hong Kong, while the portion that went to the U.S. accounted for far less, 14%. Considering China uses trade to exert political pressure, closer trade ties with the U.S. could help Taiwan if it were to face such coercion from Beijing. The British Parliament is expanding its social media presence and recently opened an official TikTok account. But the move is getting pushback from lawmakers. Several senior conservative politicians signed a joint letter to the speakers of the House of Commons and the House of Lords, equivalent to the House and Senate in the U.S. They demanded that Parliament take down the newly created TikTok account over fears that the platform transfers data to China. According to Politico, those calling for the account's removal include the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, a former conservative leader, and vice chair of the 1922 committee. They were sanctioned by the Chinese regime for criticizing its human rights abuses. The lawmakers pointed out that under China's national intelligence law passed in 2017, companies in China are required to yield data to authorities upon request. They also expressed doubt over a TikTok executive's reassurances to Parliament in 2021 that its user data isn't shared with China. Cracking down on Chinese-owned companies like TikTok is one of Foreign Secretary Liz Truss's campaign promises. She is one of two vying for UK Prime Minister. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for more than a year. Here's what to look out for in our second half. Stuck in the middle of growing tensions between the U.S. and China, South Korea has a decision to make. On one side, its biggest trade partner. On the other, its biggest ally in the free world. The full episode is available on our partner platform at Bok TV. To sign up, click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer, and see you tomorrow.
The 2022 NTD 8th International Chinese Vocal Competition will be held from September 29th to October 2nd at the Merkin Hall of Kaufman Music Center in New York City. The competition is honored to have specially invited vocalists with the world-renowned Shen Yun Performing Arts to serve on its panel of judges. The gold award is $10,000. For more information, please visit vocal.ntdtv.com.